When studying cemeteries, it is important to think back on what most cemeteries look like. Most people expect cemeteries to look like rows and rows of tombstones, or maybe dark, scary cemeteries. The way society views its cemeteries has changed over time, or maybe it hasn't changed, but maybe architects choose to change it. Enrique Miralles and Carmen Piños decided to change this in 1985 after their design was chosen in a competition to replace the old cemetery in Spain. One of the biggest obstacles of the design was the landscape in which the structure sits, but the architects were able to utilize the hilly site and create a sloping link-up road that leads to the central funeral square. Miralles is merited by the way that he was able to merge with the landscape to create a structure that is not just submerged into the site, but rather the structure becomes its own layer that exists within the site. And it is also important to note that while Miralles attempts to use the land to create his design, his style does not classify as organic or formed by some natural process. The cemetery does not impose itself within the site, but instead it brings along a distinction between natural and man-made. The Igualada Cemetery creates a path that must be followed to reach individual destinations. The path becomes an honest path that can be exposed to the elements so that the dead are neither neglected or monumentalized. As visitors follow the route from the upper level down the pathway into the cemetery, they find themselves surrounded by angled cliff-like burial niches. As they descend slowly, they become buried by the cemetery, for on reaching to the end of its path, no view can be seen beyond that which confines the site, save the world its surroundings. The materials utilized are also important to understanding the purpose behind the structure. The cement and steel sharply contrast with the wood and stone used in the era and in other cemeteries. Overall, the site comes to life in a way that people can travel through it and experience it in a way that it's not possible in other cemeteries. The true merit behind the design is the way that instead of focusing on the end of life, Miralles and Piños explored the full cycle of life and created a site that represented the past and the future in a poetic way. At the Igualada Cemetery, the site becomes a place of interaction. Architecture is a living art to which a user can personally and physically relate. To complete the design, a chapel and mortuary building were created to fit the traditional style of Spanish cemeteries. Miralles died in 2000 and is buried at the site.